Manchester City head into the international break with exactly what they needed: a hard-earned yet commanding win at the G-Tech Community Stadium. A 1-0 scoreline over Brentford might suggest a tight, nervy affair, but in truth, Guardiola's men played it like a heavyweight, calm, ruthless, and very much in control. From the first whistle, City set the tone. High pressing, relentless pressure, and quick passing immediately pushed Brentford onto the back foot. It took just 9 minutes for Erling Haaland to do what Erling Haaland does best: a mixture of brute force and finesse. He shielded the ball, brushed aside Sepp Vandenberg, skipped past Nathan Collins, and fired a lethal strike across goal. His 9th of the season, and a reminder, if anyone needed it, that his hunger for goals is far from satisfied. With the breakthrough secured, City tightened their grip. Possession climbed towards 70%, the ball zipping effortlessly between sky blue shirts, stretching Brentford's backline until it creaked. Phil Foden was electric down the right flank, while Tijani Reinders came inches away from doubling the lead with a thunderous effort off the post. For much of that first half, City looked like they were in cruise control, almost toying with their hosts. But amid the dominance came a worrying twist. In the 21st minute, Rodri pulled up with a hamstring issue and had to be withdrawn. Guardiola could only shake his head. The Spaniard is the heartbeat of this team, the balance in the chaos. Nico Gonzalez came on as an emergency replacement, but the rhythm shifted ever so slightly. Brentford sensed it, and after the interval, they pushed harder. Keith Andrews, in charge of the Bees, urged his side to go direct, hitting the flanks and looking for their target man, Igor Thiago. And it nearly paid off. On 66 minutes, a misplaced pass from Josko Gvardiol gifted Thiago the ball in acres of space. The striker surged through, the stadium holding its breath, only for Gianluigi Donnarumma to stand tall, narrow the angle, and save with his leg. It was a monumental stop, the kind of moment that turns games. That was Brentford's big chance, and they knew it. From there, City's defense shut down every long throw, every set piece, every hopeful cross. The visitors no longer attacked with the same ferocity, but showed the cold-blooded composure of champions, knowing when to step on the gas, when to slam the door shut. When the final whistle blew, it was 1-0 City. A slim margin, but a statement win. Guardiola notched his 250th Premier League victory, while his side stretched their unbeaten run to 7 games in all competitions, sitting just 3 points off the top. Brentford, to their credit, made the champions sweat, but the gulf in class was always there. In the passing, in the decision-making, in the decisive moments. Manchester City march on. Brentford are left with pride, but also the harsh reminder: against the very best, even your brightest spark can be snuffed out in an instant. Have Manchester City rediscovered their old identity of total control? Have they ever managed a half of football this season as dominant as the first 45 minutes against Brentford? The answer: no, not until now. Yes, they blew away Wolves on opening day with 2 quick-fire goals, but they also lost the plot for a good quarter of an hour. Today at the G-Tech, there was none of that. No lapses, no drifting spells, just smooth, relentless football. Brentford sat back, but City turned the game into a training ground drill, everything flowing in perfect rhythm. The careless giveaways that haunted them in recent weeks were gone. In their place came secure possession and lightning-fast counter-pressing. Nico O'Reilly pushed high to combine with Savinho on the left, while Oscar Bob had Matheus Nunes working with him on the opposite flank. This was City at their most fluid, their most connected, since the start of the campaign. Guardiola made a subtle but decisive tweak, shifting his midfield balance from the left to the right, restoring the old structure usually owned by Bernardo Silva, but adding a sharper cutting edge. Tijani Reinders unleashed a thunderous volley at the far post, brilliantly denied by Kelleher. Bob set up Phil Foden twice, only for Foden to squander both chances. City should have killed the contest before the break. Still, the numbers told the story. In that first half, City held 63% possession, their highest figure of the season, while Brentford's expected goals registered at just 0.06. In other words, A one-sided affair, vintage City, the kind of dominance we used to call their trademark. To their credit, Brentford came out braver after the interval, pressing higher and throwing more bodies forward. Yet, apart from a couple of nervous moments, City's composure held. Watching them, you got the unmistakable feeling Manchester City are back. Over the full 90 minutes, there was really only one moment when they looked exposed, and that's when Gianluigi Donnarumma reminded everyone why he's regarded among the very best in the world. Minute 48. Josko Guardiola misjudged a header, inadvertently sending the ball straight into the path of Igor Thiago. The Brazilian striker suddenly had acres to run into, and the goal at his mercy. But his first touch betrayed him, just heavy enough to give Donnarumma a split second to act. The Italian exploded off his line like a moving wall of concrete. No panicked dive, no overcommitment. He stayed upright, narrowed the angle, and at the perfect moment used his chest to block Thiago's close-range strike. A single intervention, but decisive. Not only did it deny Brentford their one true chance, it drained their belief. From then on, Igor Thiago looked a different player, half a beat slower, less assured in his runs. Donnarumma didn't need acrobatics or a catalogue of saves. Just one moment at the 48th minute, and the entire match tilted City's way. This wasn't just about 3 points. It was about control, composure, and the sense that Manchester City's true self is returning. Just 5 days ago, Pep Guardiola was blunt. Rodri wasn't ready to play 3 games in a single week. And yet, by the 21st minute at the GTEC Community Stadium, the evidence was laid bare. The Spaniard slumped to the turf, clutching his right hamstring. He managed to walk off under his own power, but the image was a grim one. City's most irreplaceable player, sidelined at the very moment the team seemed to be hitting full stride. What stings is that Pep had been warned. Before facing Burnley, he admitted Rodri's knee was in poor shape, insisting, "Rodri can't play every single match, can't go 90 minutes again and again at high intensity." He even pointed to Dani Carvajal at Real Madrid, whose career has been repeatedly interrupted by overuse, as an example of what he wanted to avoid. Guardiola stressed his duty to protect his players, even if it meant sacrificing short-term results. "I always want the best players on the pitch," Pep said, "but if they're not ready, I have to protect them." And yet, 4 days later, Rodri was starting again, straight after logging over an hour in midweek against Monaco. The 2 injuries may not be directly linked, but asking him to go again inside 100 hours was a gamble, and this time, it backfired. City, to be fair, didn't suffer too much pressure from Brentford. Nico Gonzalez stepped in, played his part, and the team still kept their rhythm. But the truth was obvious. City without Rodri are a different side. Even when not at his sharpest, he is the axis around which everything turns. From the bench, with his thigh strapped in ice, Guardiola could only glance over with concern. Because if Rodri is sidelined long-term, all that City have carefully rebuilt in this unbeaten run, structure, balance, tempo, could unravel overnight. And here lies the deeper fear. If Rodri keeps breaking down like this, we may never see his absolute peak again. His game isn't about blistering pace or explosive power. It's about rhythm, spatial control, and machine-like consistency. For a player built on those qualities, every hamstring strain or knee flare-up is more than a setback. It's a fracture in the very system that makes him special. Rodri doesn't dazzle with speed, so even the slightest dip in endurance or mobility could strip him of his edge, the obsessive precision that defines him. And the more sobering thought is that he may be reaching that threshold where the body begins to push back against Guardiola's relentless demands. A season of 60 matches, plus Nations League, plus Euros, plus Champions League. No body can endure forever. If nothing changes, the Rodri of the future might still be clever and experienced, but also slower, more cautious, no longer the all-encompassing presence he once was. And when that day comes, the era when Rodri ruled the Premier League midfield, the era of the perfect metronome, may live on only in memory.